What's up, guys? Ben with Tactical Nutrition, and in this video I want to talk about another sort of basic topic, but a thing that people miss in the gym that really costs them over the long term, and that is knowing why you're doing what you're doing and structuring a program in order to get the results you want. Now, I think that makes enough sense for most people. I will preface this by saying I understand that there's a lot of people, oftentimes, even if like really older people, that don't really have a desire to get super fit. They just kind of want to show up at the gym, sweat it out for a bit. It's better than nothing. Hit the treadmill, maybe do some stretches, a couple machines, get out of there. That's not my target audience. My target audience is generally younger men, especially, and women, but both men and women. That, let's face it, pretty much everyone wants to add more muscle and look more toned and lose body fat and have more energy and be more flexible and all these things. They can lie about it all they want, but if you were given the option to wake up the next morning leaner, stronger, more energy, healthier, I think you would take that any day of the week. And plus, if people are going to the gym, like, let's be honest, 5, 6 times a week, like a lot of people do, then you're obviously serious enough about it that you should understand. Now, what I want to talk about first is structuring your program. Obviously depends on your individual goals. But for the most part, this first part is going to go at really younger guys. I'm talking like teenagers, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, that age where you're like, you've really only probably been lifting for a few years. You probably don't know a whole lot. It's just the name of the game at that point. I happened to be in school for like strength conditioning and nutrition at that point. It was a little different. I had a little head start. But the biggest thing I see is, and I did this when I was younger, you read bodybuilding magazines, and maybe people don't even do that anymore because of social media. That shows my age a little bit. But you read bodybuilding magazines and you see these like, oh, look at this arm workout that Branch Warren's talking about, or look at this guide to huge legs, or you want a massive back, and all these roided up bodybuilders. So you start following some of these programs, and they're generally body part splits, right? It's leg day, it's back day, it's arm day. For most people, it's never really leg day. It's usually like 3 times a week it's arm day. The other 2, it's chest day. And that's it. So understanding how your body adds muscle quickly. This is especially, again, for younger guys. Your testosterone levels are really high at that point. If you keep your nutrition on point, they should stay high. But so if you're doing these isolation exercises, right? And do I need to go through these again? Bicep curls, tricep extensions, lateral raises. These are single joint movements, even something like a leg press, leg extension. Leg press is multi, but it's not as good as the king, which is the squat. It's important to understand what's going to cause your body to add muscle, right? The workout is a stimulus. I say that time and time again. It's fun to go work out. I enjoy just doing awesome workouts because it's challenging and I know I'm going to get results, and also I have a lot of different goals. But I mean, in the end, it is just a stimulus to tell your body that it's been broken down a certain way, that the nutrition plan that you should be following will allow you to recover and grow muscle. That's the idea. Now, so one thing I learned right when I was in college, this is when I put on like 45 pounds of muscle between the ages of like 18 and 21. I went from a very tall, skinny, lean, but relatively weak guy to a lot stronger. And what it happened to be was simply I started following the strength conditioning coaches at our school, and their advice and some of them are my professors. And what it comes down to is compound movements. We talk about this all the time. These are the hardest movements. They're the most taxing on your body. The squat, the deadlift, the pull-up, bench press, shoulder press, barbell rows. That's essentially it. I mean, that's the big ones. And the reason they're so effective is because of the hormonal response. When the more muscles are used during an exercise, the more that they're taxed out throughout the workout, it's for a natural lifter, then the more testosterone and growth hormone and all the, different hormones, there's more involved than that. There's like, what is it, IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor. There's a lot, but you don't really need to worry about that kind of scientific stuff for the most part. People get hung up on these abstract hormones that they're never going to get tested anyway. But understand that it becomes a system-wide growth, meaning if you do squats and you're doing them regularly and you're hitting them heavy, then it's going to cause a lot more hormonal response, a lot more testosterone release, etc. And then also what will happen is that's circulating throughout your body. So when you're doing like bicep curls and triceps and stuff like that, all that testosterone from those large muscle groups circulates throughout your body and then ends up causing everything to grow. So when I was able to put on 45 pounds of muscle, basically what it was I still did some of the beach body stuff, but 3 times a week I was doing squat, deadlift, and bench. And just working up to kind of like a heavy, I'd work up to basically a heavy single each time, not like 100%, but something like I made 95% or so. And just logging my numbers and watching them go over time and taking my rest as I needed it. But I'd always start off with the deadlift or the squat. I would alternate those, and then I would do bench press. And then after that, whatever. Flies, pull-ups, bicep curls, whatever. And I was eating like a horse. And so what happened is, again, like I was at this point where like I just started adding size. And again, I'm not this monstrous strong person. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I'm more of an athlete. I don't really want, I've never squatted actually 405. I've gotten close. I never really made it a goal, but I got to the point where I could do, 315 for 8 to 10 reps. And considering what I started at, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a tall, skinny guy. And my deadlift, I got up to 500. I might try and surpass these numbers some point, but I don't know. I'm 40 now, and I just don't really train that way. But when you're starting out, you want to add size quick, right? So you got to know why you're programming. You got to put the correct exercises in there. I mean, you're really just not going to see the results you want if you go in there as a young, skinny guy. And then you just do like a back day and you get all fancy with your straight arm pull downs and the machine row and like pullovers, which are great, and then you do biceps and triceps and you get the pump and then you leave and then you get very, very slow results that way. Whereas if you just bite the bullet and get into like a 5x5 strength program with like a deadlift, obviously, you need to learn to do these exercises properly. And they're extremely tough, which is why a lot of people don't want to do them. If you do 3 sets of, I assure you, if you do 3 sets of 10, which is one of my favorite squat workouts where I just kind of keep track of over time, I'll do like 225 for 10, 3 sets, right? That's basically the workout. You're whipped. From there, you might go into lunges and leg extensions and things like that. But the point I'm trying to get across is you need to do the compound lifts and you need to be eating the caloric surplus and the proper macros, which is, again, why you need to have a plan. Now, I call it my personal plan. When I was training my clients, it was basically like controlled chaos because I could understand how a client would not want to, they'd get bored if you do the same thing every time, right? They'd be like, what am I paying you for? We just do squat, bench, and deadlift every single time. So you do little variations, which is kind of like a West Side barbell conjugate methods type of idea, but you keep the core there. So instead of doing back squats, you do front squats. Sometimes you might get a little fancy and maybe do like barbell lunges where you can go a lot heavier than like a dumbbell. And then, you know, like, but you can still, it's still the same idea. You never stray too far. Instead of doing bench press, you might do dumbbell bench press or shoulder press or incline shoulder. You know, there's really not too much variation there. Bench press isn't that great of an exercise anyway. Maybe narrow grip press. See how like, because it would keep the workouts more fun because it's like we're doing all these different things, but we're never leaving this core. We are always keeping to the deadlift, squat, press, shoulder press. Maybe we do Arnold presses. There's a lot of different variations, but what you can't do, you can do whatever you want, but what you shouldn't do is just go in there and just do, I'm just going to do shoulders today and just hammer lateral raises and front raises, and like, it doesn't develop a very symmetrical physique either, because you can tell oftentimes when people have been training all these isolation exercises because they have glaring weak spots. Like they might have like really defined arms and no back. And obviously a lot of people have no legs, and they still wear those little short shorts, which I really don't get, because if you have huge legs, then go ahead, but you're not really showing off much with that. That's the new fashion trend though. But so I'm like, in future videos, I'm going to start to get out this whiteboard over here and write these things down, like how to make it a lot more visual. But I like to just kind of give out the concepts. And again, then like I usually say, if you like the video and you like something you hear, then you go, oh, okay, I'm going to research that a little bit, blah, blah, blah. And then you can leave in the comments if you want to see one of the books I've got, I could recommend on strength training, videos, other coaches that I've found. There's a million people that you can find. And all these strength coaches will pretty much tell you the same thing. Unless they strictly are training a professional bodybuilder, which is not you. Just say it. Probably not you. You wouldn't be watching my channel if you were anyway. But know why you're doing things and keep a controlled structure of your program. And then you can go out and do your little variations. And of course, at the end of the workout, you can do biceps. And every once in a while, you switch it up and you do arm day only. You know, like sometimes I've been guilty of like neglecting biceps, and then they kind of get a little smaller. So I need to do more frequency. But the key thing is when you do the compound lifts, it's going to hit multiple muscle groups, because when you do I'll end the video on this. When you do like a heavy back squat, a nice deep back squat, obviously it's working your quads. It's working your hamstrings. It's working your glutes. And it's still working your lower back. And it's still working your traps. And it's still working your abs, because your abs have to be contracting the heavier you go with a squat, even if you don't feel them burn. Your lats should be working. A squat works every muscle if you do it properly. Right? Your lower back may not like burn if you're doing the squat properly, but it's still holding X amount of weight. So like as your body, you literally just get used to holding more weight. You'll see your like trap muscles will get bigger just because of the weight of the bar on your back. That's why a lot of people, when they first start the back squat, they're like, oh my God, it hurts. I go, don't worry, you'll adapt to that. And then with the deadlift, you're going to develop forearm strength as well. And your lats are going to get bigger, and even your biceps, because nothing's really going to get like left behind with the compound lifts. Anyway, guys, I don't want to go on I like to keep these below 15 minutes. Like, comment, subscribe. If you actually want a program, I write them out, customize, in through the Trainer Eyes app at tacticalnutrition.net. You can check them out. There's different tiers. They include full macro breakdowns, daily accountability, nutrition coaching, the whole shebang. That's it for you guys. I will see you in the next one.